Imagine a time long ago, in a land where kings ruled and armies clashed beneath open skies, where the fate of entire nations hung on the bravery of a few. The sun blazed overhead as the Israelite camp buzzed with tension. For weeks, the enemy had taunted them, their voices booming across the valley like thunder. "If you can kill me, we will become your servants. But if I kill him, you will serve us." And no one dared to answer. King Saul, their leader, felt the weight of despair settle over his people. His mighty army, though strong, was frozen in fear. The Philistines, fierce and formidable warriors, had come to challenge the very heart of Israel. Among them stood a giantman whose size alone struck fear into the bravest soldiers. His name was Goliath, a warrior so enormous and powerful that when he stepped onto the battlefield, the ground seemed to shake beneath his feet. When David arrived, he heard the soldiers whispering about Goliath's challenge and saw the fear etched on their faces. The king's men looked at him incredulously. You're just a boy," they exclaimed. "The Lord who saved me from those will save me from this giant," David said with unwavering faith. "Who will fight this giant?" They wondered. "Am I a dog, that you come at me with sticks?" Goliath sneered. He offered David his own armor, but it was too heavy and unfamiliar. So David chose instead his simple sling and 5 smooth stones he picked from a nearby stream. His armor glinted in the sunlight, and his voice echoed across the valley as he dared the Israelites to send out a champion to fight him. "Choose a man to come down and fight me," Goliath's challenge thundered. Unlike his older brothers, David had not been called to fight. He was still a boy, small and inexperienced. His days were spent in the rolling fields, protecting his flock from wild animals with only a sling and his faith and bravery. Even the smallest person can overcome the greatest obstacle. The giant stumbled and fell, defeated by the boy no one expected. The Israelites trembled. For 40 days, this giant had mocked them. David's heart stirred not with fear, but with a quiet courage. Yet, far away from the clamor of war, in a quiet village, not far from the battlefield, a young shepherd boy named David was tending to his father's sheep. One day, David's father sent him to the camp to bring food to his brothers, who were soldiers in King Saul's army. David, curious and brave, asked, "Who is this Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" The soldiers told him about Goliath, describing the giant's terrifying size and strength. "I will fight him," David declared. The camp fell silent. But David told them about his past, how God had helped him protect his sheep from lions and bears, fierce predators that had tried to attack his flock. King Saul, desperate yet hopeful, allowed David to face Goliath. As David stepped onto the battlefield, the giant laughed, but David replied with confidence, "You come against me with sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." With a swift motion, David slung a stone that flew through the air and struck Goliath squarely on the forehead. The Israelites erupted in cheers, their faith renewed. David's courage had shown them that no matter how big the challenge, with faith, as the dust settled and Goliath lay motionless on the ground, an eerie silence swept over the battlefield. For a moment, no one dared to breathe. Then, the Israelite soldiers erupted in joyous cries, their voices echoing like a mighty roar that chased away the shadows of fear that had haunted them for so long. The boy who had once tended sheep in quiet fields had now become the hero of Israel. But David didn't boast or gloat. Instead, he knelt and whispered a prayer of thanks to God, the true source of his strength. Yet, even amidst the celebrations, challenges awaited. Some envied David's sudden rise, while others doubted that such a young boy could truly be a leader. The Philistines, stunned and terrified by the sudden fall of their champion, began to scatter like frightened sheep. David, still clutching his sling, stood tall and steady amidst the chaos. The people's admiration for David grew with every tale of his bravery and wisdom. Among those who admired him was Saul's daughter, Michal, who saw in David a rare spirit of kindness and strength. Their bond deepened, intertwining their fates even further. The enemies of Israel did not rest after Goliath's fall. Battles raged on, and David was called again and again to fight for his people. Each victory solidified his reputation, but also deepened the shadow of jealousy in Saul's heart. The king's jealousy brewed silently, like a storm gathering on the horizon. Yet, even Saul could not deny that David had become a powerful asset to Israel, a symbol of hope in dark times. News of David's incredible victory spread swiftly throughout the land. He knew that it was not his own strength, but but his trust in God that had made the victory possible. He continued to write songs and prayers, pouring out his soul to God in moments of solitude. These songs, filled with hope and trust, would one day inspire countless generations. From that day forward, David's journey was just beginning, a path filled with trials, friendships, and lessons that would shape him into one of Israel's greatest kings. People marveled at how a young shepherd boy, armed with nothing more than a sling and stones, had defeated the mighty Goliath. It was in those memories and in his unwavering faith that he found strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The story inspired hope in the hearts of many and reminded them that courage and faith could triumph over seemingly impossible odds. King Saul welcomed David into his court with open arms, recognizing the boy's bravery and the favor of God upon him. But David remained humble. In the days that followed, David's life changed in ways he never imagined. The once quiet shepherd boy was now a name on every tongue, a symbol of hope and courage. Yet, for David, the victory over Goliath was not about fame or glory. It was about something far deeper: his faith in a God who used him, a humble servant, to accomplish the impossible. Back in his village, David's family greeted him with awe and pride. His father, Jesse, who had long believed in his youngest son's heart, smiled with quiet satisfaction. But David knew that the road ahead would not be easy. Enemies lurked not just on the battlefield but within the very walls of the kingdom. King Saul, once proud and mighty, began to feel a strange unease. David was invited to the royal palace, where he soon caught the attention of the king's court. Despite the glittering halls and royal intrigues, David's heart remained anchored in his shepherd's roots. But David also faced trials that tested his courage in new ways. In quiet moments, David remembered the fields where he once tended sheep. The peaceful days before war called him to greatness. As David's fame grew, so too did King Saul's suspicion and envy. The king's once warm heart began to harden, clouded by fear that this young shepherd might one day take his throne. Whenever the shadow of doubt crept into his life, David would retreat to the quiet place's hillsides under the vast sky, where he once watched over his sheep and pour out his heart in song and prayer. Saul's gaze often followed David with distrust, and whispers of jealousy spread through the palace like wildfire. But David remained steadfast. He had no desire for power or glory beyond serving his people and honoring God. One evening, as the stars twinkled above, David sat alone with his harp, his fingers gently coaxing melodies that spoke of trust, hope, and courage. "The Lord is my shepherd," he sang softly. "I shall not want." These words were more than music. They were a shield against fear, a reminder that no matter how fierce the battle, he was never truly alone. But the struggle with Saul was far from over. The king's jealousy turned dangerous, and David found himself fleeing from the very palace that had once welcomed him. That faith can move mountains, even when the odds seem impossible. The people of Israel, weary from constant conflict and longing for a leader who would unite them, began to look toward the young shepherd who had once faced a giant with nothing but a sling and unwavering faith. And that sometimes, the smallest stone, when hurled with the power of belief, can change the course of history forever. From the moment the crown was placed upon his head, David carried the weight of his people's hopes and dreams with humble determination. But each time, he turned back to God with genuine repentance, showing that even the greatest leaders are human, and that true strength lies in humility and the willingness to grow. He became a fugitive, wandering the wilderness with only a handful of loyal friends by his side. They speak of a God who was close to the broken-hearted, a refuge for the weary, and a source of everlasting love. Whether facing giants on the battlefield or battles within the soul, his life teaches us to trust in a higher purpose, and to believe that no matter our size or background, we can make a difference. A simple sling and a smooth stone, guided by unwavering belief, were enough to change history. With courage, faith, and a humble heart, anything is possible. And just like David, you too can triumph. He established Jerusalem as the capital, a city that would become the heart of Jewish faith and history. The wilderness was harsh and unforgiving, but David's spirit remained unbroken. He learned to survive in the wild, to trust not only in his own skills but in God's guidance. Every challenge sharpened his courage and deepened his faith. Throughout these years, David's heart was tested in ways he had never imagined. He faced betrayal, loneliness, and fear. And a timeless example of what it means to have a heart after God. Yet even in the darkest moments, he held fast to the belief that God had a plan for him, or status, that by the courage to face challenges with faith and the heart to trust in something greater than ourselves. And indeed, that plan was greater than anyone could foresee. For David was not just a shepherd or a warrior, he was destined to become the greatest king Israel had ever known, a man after God's own heart. His story teaches us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. After many years wandering the wilderness, evading danger, and growing stronger both in spirit and skill, David's time to lead finally came. David was anointed king not because of his royal blood or his strength in battle alone, but because of the purity of his heart and his steadfast trust in God. His reign was marked by both triumphs and trials. As king, David united the 12 tribes of Israel into one nation, bringing peace and prosperity after years of division. Yet David's journey was far from perfect. He faced personal failures and painful mistakes, moments that tested his character deeply. David's psalms, songs of praise, lament, and hope continue to inspire millions around the world. Through it all, David's story remains a powerful reminder that courage, faith, and humility can overcome even the greatest challenges. And so, the boy who once protected sheep in quiet fields became a symbol of hope, a leader beloved by his people. David's journey from a humble shepherd boy to a legendary king reminds us that, true greatness is not measured by size, strength. When we feel small against the giants in our lives, whether they be fear, doubt, or overwhelming obstacles, we can remember David's story. No matter who you are or where you come from, you carry within you the power to overcome your giants. So the next time you face something that seems impossible, remember David, young, small, and unlikely, yet fearless because he trusted in God's strength, not his own.